Jen, do you know who you want to trade? Yeah.
Well, I tried to pull one over on Jackie Lipinski and tried to get Justin Jefferson from her as if she didn't know
Hmm.
who that was. But I did try to offer her a couple of really good legit players, but she denied me. So,
Denied.
yes, I
Man.
have not.
Like you're a fantasy football professional. So can you
I'm
tell
not.
right now who's like, if you had to call it right now, who has the best team, do you think?
I mean, Jackie has a pretty good team. Mike has a pretty good team. I have a pretty decent team. I mean, I'm really
Hmm.
not a professional. I just like to pretend that I know what
But
I'm
you've
talking
won,
about.
right?
I
You've
won
won. You have that
once.
unicorn trophy right behind
Yes,
you.
I won.
It's gold
I
plated.
won once.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's really just luck. Plus the way that we do it, guys, is this auto draft. So it's not even like you just auto magically picks your players. You don't really
Hmm.
have any say in what's going to
The
happen.
winners decided with the auto draft. Sort of.
Yeah,
Well, if
right
you don't
now
like
it
set your
says
lineup.
it says projected standings with Mike Lyon in first place.
That
So
happens
I'm
every year somehow.
trying to razz
Even though
him.
he's the commissioner, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I'm
remember
like,
that.
oh,
How's
you
that
got
work out?
Jalen Hurts for your quarterback.
But
Oh,
see,
okay.
here's
How
here's
that?
what makes me mad is I had to make myself like math again. Like I failed honors pre-calculus and I took it twice and then I never had to take math again. And I was like, I chose a different like I was like, I'm going to go Bachelor of Arts instead of Bachelor of Science because I'm not taking
Hmm.
anything close to math. And then I had to make myself like math when I became a marketer, became important.
Yeah.
So it drives me nuts. Like I'm going up against Lipinski and it says projected score of 124 and a half for me
Uh-huh.
versus 122 and a half for her.
Hmm.
Okay.
How is it possible that here's what's going to happen? I'm going to get 65 and she's going to have 172. I mean, that's just gambling. That's just randomness, right?
They're just taking average, projections. But what happens is somebody could get hurt. They might not even
Right.
play. I mean,
Mm.
like you never know.
I just think if we have,
You never know.
AI that can take us to Mars and back, can it give us better projections at this? Like, come on, ESPN, get some GPUs fired up and get
Evan, but there's
some
the
machine learning.
Human
human factor.
are
I
reliably
know,
unreliable,
Human
right?
factor.
but they're all being paid off to like take a fall and stuff anyway, right? Like it's
Yeah.
all
Oh,
statistically,
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh, it's
Oh,
all
la la la
If
la
there is no
la.
drama in the game, no one
I
would
don't like
watch
to
it.
think that way.
It's like people that think all the housewife shows are real. Like if there's no drama, there'd be no show. It's all manufactured.
yeah.
Just gonna go
I just
Football,
live
think it should
right?
show a
gonna live in
range. It
my
should be
bubble.
like, here's how every year I am like, okay, I'll give fantasy another shot. And then after the first 2 or 3 weeks of the same thing happening every time, where it's like, I should have 180 points and I get 30. Like there's
Evan,
no,
you just have to make sure that your players don't have a bye.
I don't,
Like
I do.
you
It
do, you
never
pay
happens the
attention to
first
that?
two or three
Okay.
Hmm.
weeks before
All
I give
right.
up.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that's why I was wondering, besides you and Mike, who is most likely to win, so I can just trade them my best players now and
No, we're not
ensure the
playing that
victory.
game. We're not doing that.
Oh man.
No,
See, I
we're
just
not.
opted out this year because now we have enough
We're not.
people at Do You
Yeah.
Convert?
You
Like
don't
where I
have to
don't feel
play.
like I'm like,
No pressure.
no pressure. Because I was not adding to it. I would set my thing, but I was just like, oh, there's another person playing. I don't watch football. I'll watch some college football, but professional. What day is it on usually?
Guys, I
I'm just
went
kidding.
to the Virginia Tech Old Dominion game this past weekend. It was freaking electric. I was pretty sure Old Dominion was going to get pummeled, but they played pretty good.
Okay.
That's my alma mater.
I was gonna say that's where you went.
That's where I went to
Nice.
school, right? I'm a diehard fan. I go every time they're home game, I'm there. But when they started playing Enter Sandman at the beginning, I mean, it was like in fact, when everybody's jumping like that, it registers on the what's it
Richter
called?
scale. Yeah.
Seismogram. I don't know what the tech, but it registers as an earthquake. It was crazy. Like I was like almost I was so overcome with
You're in
emotion.
tears.
I was like, it's not even, I mean, look, I pay Virginia Tech a
Love
lot of money
football.
because my child goes there.
Ooh.
So I like either way, whoever won, it was fine. Like, but I was like, oh my gosh, like it brought me back to Meredith Oliver's, fanatical selling, and like we have to our customers need to be fans of,
Yeah.
Our business and our brand and our company. And yeah, I mean, it was a thing, man. I was like, I'm all in on these Hokies.
So you cannot replace humans, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, it's not
The human
happening
experience.
this year, but sometime soon I'm going to have to get my kids to the summit just for like the first 30 minutes and then tell them to leave. Because I think that's the only atmosphere that would,
Okay,
that
now
they
you
understand, like, oh, okay, Dad, you do real work outside of just talking to your computer upstairs. Yeah.
Or they might be like, wait, so you go on stage and talk for like a couple minutes and all these people give you money to listen to you? I don't know, Dad. Sounds like a scam. I feel like that's what.
All right,
mine
we
would
promise
say.
no more sports talk for the rest
No more
of
sports
this
talk.
episode. Let's get started.
Let's go.
Welcome to episode 302. I'm Kevin Oakley, and with me today is Andrew Peak and Jen Barkan.
We're here. It's so excited.
Jen, are we allowed to announce what's happening?
Oh my gosh, what's happening?
The thing that you're doing.
What am I doing?
Starts with a P, ends with Oddcast.
Oh,
are you kidding?
Are we talking about that?
No, we're not talking about that yet. But
okay, we won't talk about it.
I think you just talked about it. Like,
hey.
It's like, what do you?
No, we didn't.
Hey,
we didn't talk
pretty
about
sure
it.
you did.
Online people talking.
No. All right,
Well,
Andrew,
man, that's funny.
what do you got?
Oh, what do I got? This was a fun question, and I talked about it yesterday and this morning. So I'm like, oh, this could be open discussion. Maybe we make it a parallel to the online sales world at the same time. How do you measure a successful ad, or how do you measure a successful phone call if it doesn't end up with a lead or an appointment? Can it still be successful? It's kind of like a principle or like theory question. This is like the long essay question at the end of an SAT. I don't know if they still do that or not. It's been quite a few years. So it's sort of open-ended discussion. So I was talking about this with Beth, a coach here at Deconvert, and Bryce, a marketing strategist. And it really went down to this rabbit hole of like, oh, you kind of need to be rooted in some type of principles before you decide what is success or not success. Because it could be like, hey, it's really efficient. Was that successful? Not when you need every single click out there. Like maybe that's actually the opposite. It's unsuccessful. Or maybe you have a very, very limited budget. So having a really low or very efficient cost per click is success. Or maybe it's a coming soon community and you need as many leads as you can. And you just need to spend as much as you can. It doesn't matter what the cost per lead is, because the urgency of more leads is significantly more important than trying to save some of the marketing budget. So I kind of just gave the answer. It really depends. It really depends. There's no good
idea
answer.
What the right answer is to your question?
Yes, you do.
It's
The
a
one that
hard
gets online
question.
salespeople leads.
Well, that's
online salespeople
That's
talking.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't know
talking.
what the right answer is, but I would think it would be a good ad would get leads and appointments and sales.
Yeah, that sounds good
like,
to me.
Yeah.
If it's a
It's-
successful,
Like other maybe land. I don't know of a longer purchase cycle for most people to deal with than homes.
Yeah, agreed.
Maybe mega yachts or airplanes. But like if you're shopping for an airplane, is that comparable to shopping for a car? I don't
know.
Like
Yeah, it's boats and boats.
But there's lots of
airplanes.
personalization. Like I'm seeing lots of visualization tools for customizing your own private jet being advertised as like the new way to sell expensive stuff to people.
I mean, housing
certainly-
is a need though. Jet,
Mhm.
is that really a need?
Well, right. But
I
my
need
point
one.
is like the number of decisions and trade-offs to consider, and but that's just what makes it all more complicated. And
It's very complicated. It's a hard question. Like it's
well, it's
I think it's a
everything.
hard question.
It's the
It's-
question
It is.
in advertising. But for us, it's important to remember that there are multiple parts of the funnel. Different ads serve different purposes for different customers in different stages. You can't. I think about it this way: if you think about a pie, a pizza, and everyone inside of that pie, it doesn't matter if you spend $2 million or $2,000 a month on search. If it's only within that pie, there is always a trade-off of like, if you spend all $2 million and the pie doesn't expand, and it's not really a pie, it's a Rubik's Cube because it's like 7-dimensional, but you can't have any one tactic that you can just never max out.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of, I guess what I'm trying to convey is it's not just that the ads will get more expensive, but it will not raise the number of people that it reaches if it's defined by a certain radius or shape or audience already.
Right.
And so
we can't really create a market. Sorta.
Well, yes, but I guess my point is each channel is by definition, we don't think about it this way, its own market. Like only the people who are searching can be reached by search marketing. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of people who aren't searching, or they're not searching at every moment of their decision-making process.
Right.
And so
if they're searching, you want to capture them with your
if they are searching, you want to capture them, but you also have to realize that every I mean, it goes back to Steve Shoemaker's joke, which we repeat all the time, is if you've got 5 different things that are viable reasons why someone ends up being a purchaser. They have a realtor, they're referred by a friend, they saw you on a social ad, they did a search, they went on an event, and then they purchase. Who gets credit? But it's just the acknowledgement that you have to have that every customer becomes a member of multiple channels, advertising channels all the time. And so like there is this well-roundedness that I don't think I understood early in my career, that now that everyone's just, I'm data-driven. And it's like that curve that I forget its name, Dunning-Kruger effect or whatever.
Greater than feelings.
Data over feelings.
Yeah, data.
Yeah, but I would say to your point, what's the word you used to start with a P that we need?
People? We need.
No, we need, well, anyway, like what makes a good ad? We need what before?
To me, as context, we need, I don't even know. I don't know. Words just come out of my mouth is what usually happens.
Struggle busing.
And eventually it forms a sentence that makes sense.
Yeah. But anyway, the whole world has gone so over onto the data side that there's a serious lack of well-roundedness in the thinking. Principles.
Data, then we have
That's
principles.
the P word that we were looking for.
We live by principles. That's what we need.
And the principles come from, this was the LinkedIn post I made a little while ago. The principles come from having an ultra deep understanding of what your consumers experiencing and doing and thinking. That's not defined by just asking them, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Because they can't articulate. They do what's called preference falsification, where they just say what they feel like they're supposed to say to appear good. And so you have to have that deep understanding to just know, like, well, of course they're doing these other things. And I don't actually need data to continually prove to me that they're doing that, because I'm constantly watching consumers do what they do and interacting with them and talking to them. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. Yeah, we talked about it probably like an hour and a half in total yesterday and today. Beth and Bryce. Well, not that single question, but it was a series of questions from a very intelligent builder partner of ours. And it was like, oh, this is actually like, this gets deep. Like that's not a surface level question. It's not like, hey, just check on the click-through rate, the CPC, and conversion rate, and there's your answer. Because you could have amazing conversion rate. And
I think I said this about my sister on another episode, and she doesn't listen anyway, but she's a CMO now at a university. I guess, sorry, Kristen, but remember all those bad things she did to me when I was a kid? There's the payback. She read like a Harvard Business Review magazine article, and then reached out to me and was like, how do I get my team to do this? Like, I read this in an article. And it's like, okay. But I think that's where our principle. So where do principles come from? Your principles either come from just things you like observed from afar, or someone else just told you. That's a terrible way to develop a principle. You can shortcut by getting a coach, right, Jen? Right? Coaches help you shortcut to the best principles. But if you're going to your coach and you're like, hey, I think maybe we should do, squats this way, Andrew, instead of this other way. Why? Someone on TikTok said so.
Yeah.
And you're like, well,
A
I've
lot of followers.
like been in a couple competition. Like that's not good.
Right.
So I think that's where the friction comes from, is people who have strong principles without strong experience of testing those principles. They just decided they were good principles. Like that's, and it's just important for me to articulate, I guess, to everyone listening, that our principles don't come from our feelings. Back to your t-shirt, Andrew.
Yeah.
Our principles come from the data, but the data combined with experience and observation, not just data on its own.
Yeah. And then kind of testing against those principles reinforces
I didn't know
the
that's
principles.
the direction this conversation was going about ads, successful ads.
There we go. I think moving it towards online sales world is like a principle in a phone call. Here's the intent.
I mean, oh my gosh. So this kind of plays into
let's hear it.
It just plays into, the whole coaching and being coachable and wanting to do things the right way. And like you said, the experience that like our coaching team at Do You Convert has like thousands upon thousands of hours in the seat, but then also coaching and training. I mean, just thousands. I don't even know what Mike did the math on it.
Hundreds of years, I think, if you add up the whole team.
Yes. Yeah, hundreds of years. And so it's like when we are speaking from like experience and relevance in the market, because we work with, over a couple hundred online sales specialists a month. So we know like what's happening in real time.
It's a few.
It's like, this is not just we're not just like pulling this out of thin air of what we think. Like, this is what we know, because of what we see on a daily basis. So and you got to be coachable. You got to be open to listening and learning. And I was actually on a podcast yesterday with the Homes for Hope program. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Drake. And he asked me, something came up about coachability. And I was like, yeah, as a coach, you can be like, we're totally invested in that online sales specialist, right? But they have to be invested back in us. We can train, we can coach, we can lead them to the water, but we can't make them drink. We can't make them do that. They got to be invested back. And so yeah.
Well, and I'm gonna you use a spicy emoji, so I don't know if you've chilled out since the beginning of the day, but I'm gonna bring some spice back. I feel that's not the right word. I don't want to use that word. There are absolutely managers and senior leaders out there who have zero desire to unpack why things are working. And that seems to be, my hunch would be, Melanie just told me, my wife, that I should never use that word. Do people not use the word hunch anymore?
Hunch. No, yeah, I use that, hunch.
Okay, she's like, no one uses that word. Stop it.
Is it like a quote ick word? I don't know, like that phrase.
Like moist.
Yeah.
My hunch is that they are insecure in their own ability with whatever it is that would be unpacked.
Absolutely.
And that leads them to be like, nope, don't want to, like, results are good. Don't care about, and I'll give you the tangible example here. There was a builder we were speaking with who it looked like the online salesperson was averaging like 30 to 40 leads a month for the last 6 months.
Okay.
And we were on a quarterly leadership call. And our online sales coach working with that person has been talking about things a certain way based upon an understanding of that lead volume. By the way, that lead volume is given by the OSC in the reporting that we use. It comes from the CRM, but OSCs always have the availability to, make sure the numbers are accurate and consistent. So we're on with leadership, and the leadership sales manager, VP of sales and marketing, is like, oh, no. That OSC gets like way more than that. We're talking like 100 plus more leads a month than what that is showing. But it's in this other system that doesn't talk to our CRM. And I was like, well, that's why for about,
that's an issue.
I don't know, 2 years, we've recommended to stop using that thing. And the answer came back was, but it's working really well for us. Like, how do you know?
How do you know? How do
Because
you
your
know?
your online salesperson doesn't know, apparently, because they don't count those things. There's no tracking of how those people are followed up with.
Yeah.
And what it boils down to is this is someone who's highly uncomfortable with the use of technology themselves.
Mhm.
Someone somewhere told them or whatever, like, this is a good thing to use, and things are going fine enough, but that's that's a huge blind spot that is going to cause massive panic at some point that could be avoided if you just
There
cared
is
more about
a
how you got to that end result.
there is definitely a,
Yeah.
listen, online sales contribution is still high. I mean, 45 to 50% still of sales are coming from this program, but there's still this disconnect of the resources, the support, the time spent understanding, learning the tools, the systems, the reporting for this role. And so there's a lot of like just wild, wild west happening out there with some of the online sales specialists because there's, management is not getting in there and taking the time to understand. It's like you said, Kevin, maybe a lack of understanding or technology, but there's also bandwidth issues too. Feel like everybody is spread so thin, and when push comes to shove, we need sales to keep everything running, right? So I'm going to take my efforts and focus on the sale, the end of the funnel here, but really we're not going to get sales unless we have appointments. And if we don't have we got to manage. So it's really this shift of perspective that needs to happen. I was talking with somebody earlier today that there's still broken parts of the CRM. There's still broken parts of how the leads are managed and things like that. And it's like, hey, we've been talking about this for like a year. It's still broken. Like,
Isn't that funny? Like, CRMs as a broader topic, I feel like, there was a time where it was like, are you using Outlook Express or Outlook, or like, what's your email client? I haven't heard, maybe once in the last 2 years, someone talk about complexity or questions around email and how to
Right.
use their own email client.
Right.
Mhm.
Why the heck aren't CRMs the same way? It's 2023.
I'm
It's
telling you,
2023.
it's-
That would
It's-
stress me out. Like one lead lost or one lead that you lose, I'm like, that could be X amount of profit from one sale of a home that they just ignore that went to someone else.
And again,
And that's just like,
this
that makes me feel
same
waste.
builder, we're on the call and I'm looking through their CRM system, and there were months at a time where not a single prospect was ever entered into the CRM by the onsite sales team.
That's like
Like
$1 million.
4 months in a row, not a single lead. Oh my God.
That could have been like, that's like, I get weird. I'm like, it's like they could
Millions
have
of
just like
dollars.
paid
Millions of
someone
dollars.
else, pay the whole company to go on
millions of dollars.
vacation
I mean,
anywhere they
Millions of
want.
dollars of lost
Like,
revenue or miss.
yeah. Or, just looking at even, I mean, we could go on and on about this. I mean, just looking at like, average appointment to sale number right now is 21%. That's strong, 21%, right?
Mhm.
Average walk-in traffic conversion is historically like 10 to 12%, right? And so we go, okay, we're still 21%, like 1 out of 5 appointments are going to write a contract, but we're still not focusing on bettering the handoff or making sure that this connection with onsite and online is at the forefront of our training and our discussions. I did some math. This episode is all about math. I did some math with a builder the other day where they're right now they're at 11% conversion of appointment to sale. And I'm like, if you did these 4 steps and you were able to increase your conversion to 21%, that's an additional $19 million of revenue.
Yeah.
Sales revenue, 19 million, which equated to like an additional, because we did this math in front of the sales team. That's an additional 400 and something $1,000 in commission or whatever that's like being left on the table. And it's like when you put it in that perspective, it's like, whoa, you know, like just do, you know, like these. And again, this goes back to what we were just talking about. Like, we're not just coming up with like, yeah, we think you should do it this way. Like, we know this works. We have the data to support it. We have the conversion metrics to show that this is what the averages are.
Okay, one
Just
more
do
thing.
these 4 things.
One more thing. Let's just say, just for fun,
Okay.
because no one else is listening.
They've already left.
That your lead to appointment ratio is currently 18%.
Mm-hmm.
And our average benchmark currently is where?
40.
Roughly.
40.
Okay. Lead to appointment.
Lead to appointment, yeah.
My favorite is when the person who has an 18% lead to appointment currently is again the one suggesting that they have found a better way.
I think so.
I was like, oh, I mean,
Kevin.
And this is where our approaches differ, because we're all different humans that do convert. As I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm going to explain to you why that's a bad idea. But I would say to everyone, like, you don't pay me enough to make your decision for you. So, I mean, try it for a week or two, but not longer, because you can't afford to go to 5. Like 18 is bad enough. Let's get you to 35 with these proven things, right? First. Okay.
Yeah, no, I just say,
you have a story, Jen, about vet school application, I think.
Oh man, I feel like
you go back to school?
Is just
you listen,
I did apply to vet school. I don't know if you guys knew that. I did at one time want to be a veterinarian.
Send a telegram,
my former life. Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't get in. There's only 30 vet schools in the world.
Ohio State is one of the best, I hear.
Basically. Yes.
They're good at a lot of things.
My daughter is in her senior year at Virginia Tech and is going through the vet school application process right now.
Nice.
She's applying to like, I think 15 schools out of the 30. Ohio State.
Yeah. Isn't she going to live here or something?
I said, if you get into Ohio State, you can go to Kevin's for dinner. He'll take care of him and Melanie.
Pancakes every Saturday.
Yeah, they'll feed you. Make sure you're okay. But as she's going through this, she's super stressed out. She's having to like go back through the last 10 years of her life, basically, and think about all these things and, these prompts. It's like, what's the defining moment of when you wanted to be a veterinarian, right? So she's having to go through this. And I said,
these questions are terrible.
Well, and listen, the vet schools, they only accept one of the hardest things to get into. They only accept like 100 out of thousands and thousands of applications.
Wow.
So I'm like, you've got to do something in this essay to stand out. Like the first sentence has got to be some catchy thing, but it made me think about a couple of different things. So one, if you are thinking about applying to the nationals, you should, because it's a great way to go through and you go back into the archives and you just document all of this awesome stuff that you've done in your career, and you put it on paper. And if you're thinking about doing it, you should go for it. But also make sure you tell a story. That is what is going to help you stand out in all of those applications that come in. So tell a story, be specific, how you overcame something, whatever. But also it made me think about when we're communicating with our customers and we're sending follow-up and we're leaving phone messages and we're communicating, you gotta spice it up a little bit. You gotta be personal. You gotta put something in the subject line that's going to break through the clutter. It's going to make you stand out, instead of, touching base, checking in, how's it going? Because people's inboxes are inundated. They just get so many, especially if they're looking at your builder, they're looking at 10 other builders that are all sending emails, that are all sending newsletters, we all doing all the things.
We hope,
we think, who knows? But you've got to break through the digital pollution, right, and cut through the clutter. So good luck to Mia, little Mia.
Good luck.
Her
You got it.
applications are due September 18th. So
15 of them too. I'd
yeah,
be paying
yeah.
someone to do that, I think.
yeah.
That's
If anybody
illegal.
would like to donate to the Mia application fund, plus you've got to like pay like a gazillion dollars for all of these
Mhm.
different
Sounds like- yeah.
applications. So really excited for her. So put out some good positive vibes.
To the universe.
Yes, to the
Does
universe.
she have? What's her favorite
Crystals.
animal? Is it dogs?
Yes, she's actually doing this research study on cows right now. So she gets to go hang out with cows
Wow.
and draw blood and do like feed. She had to like climb up on this big like grain machine and like feed them. And I don't know. She likes horses too. She's done some stuff with the horses, but mainly
Human
small
kryptonite.
animals.
Not
Yeah.
a horse fan. Human kryptonite. Those things are.
You're not a horse fan?
No,
What?
they kill
could
people
kill
with
you.
one kick.
Yeah.
It's not safe. Not a
They're
safe
deadly.
animal.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
Terrifying. What about like the miniature horses? Those are fun. Little tiny
Maybe?
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Is
the
this
Tennessee
like the
walking
would you rather
horses.
be fight one giant 100-foot horse or 101-foot tiny horses?
They're
or
just
something?
like
Mm.
running around? Yeah, little baby horses. Little
Sorry,
fat
everyone.
horses.
I'm in some
Okay.
kind of strange mood here.
Do
On
we
to the
have
news.
anybody listening
Multiverse.
still? I don't
This is
know.
Earth 4. Oh man.
First up from dnyuz.com. What's that stand for? I need to know. The news. Oh, the news. Ha. It's like okay.
It's
So
2 syllables. That has
it's questionable,
very
but this one wasn't behind a
high
paywall,
value
so we're
things.
using the link.
Where'd it go?
In its first monopoly trial of modern internet era, the U.S. sets its sights on Google. So, for those of you old enough to remember, I think the last big monopoly trial breakup that happened was AT&T. That was then split up into 7 different regional companies in 1984. The article says, but effectively, the United States government is saying that Google is preventing any new opportunity for search to occur. Google basically does what Facebook did back in the day. It was like any popular social app will just go out and buy them. I mean, if you got to spend $1 billion, you got to spend $1 billion to get Instagram, but it just prevents anyone from getting to the point where they could be a rival. And the charge here is that they're doing that with search. And what's going to be, so one, it's a big deal. The other thing is it's hard for monopolies. Monopolies are not illegal. Monopolies that harm consumers are illegal. And Android was one really smart move by Google of saying, we're going to make an operating system that's basically free. I mean, the catch is it has Google search built in as the default option, but it's hard to prove monopoly. Like consumers don't pay for ads on Google. Consumers don't pay for Google Sheets, for Google Docs. They don't pay for it. Like that's, you're getting a lot of, in quotes, free because there's trade-offs.
Resources, yeah.
But you're getting a lot of resources as a consumer that you don't directly pay for. But they're going after it. And I think it's not, how do I want to say this? It's just a distraction, but it's a really big distraction because this is like very low percentage chance. But if it does, like you could just imagine working at Google in the senior leadership and you're like, we should be working on AI and we should be making this better and YouTube and oh crap, we got to do this.
They're like, we got Mitch McConnell freezing out over here telling us how we should run the business. I agree. It seems
do you
like
think Google is a monopoly?
I think they're monopoly in that they own search. Like you Google something, it's the verb, it's what you do. Verb, it's what you do. I think they're trying to prove, right? Did they do things that were like the competitive nature? Well, of course they did. They wanted to get rid of the competition. So there's times where I'm like, I don't make any sense. I can't stand this type of thing. But then I'm like, we kind of need more regulation over here and like zero regulation on stuff like this. So I feel like, like there's contradictions there with government involvement in business and stuff like that. But this, I'm like, come on, like this is so dumb. Like everyone that
I don't
is
like it.
on this thing against Google uses Google likely for their search engine. They're not on Ask Jeeves or MSN.com or Bing. They're using Google to do it. So, and there's a reason. It's still the better product, and they kind of prove that. Even if they did all these, I think that's where their case is probably, even if we did not do these things, people would still use Google. They're not using Bing. They're not switching to another search platform at all. They're going to
People don't use Bing anymore.
Yeah, they don't. And they even have points. You could search
Yeah, don't
stuff
they
on
pay
Bing. You
you
get
to
points.
use
What?
Bing?
They try to pay you. Yeah, you get pretty little
You get
pictures.
coupons or whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is just one builder in Texas as an example, but year to date they have 330,000 unique sessions from Google search,
Mhm.
and they have 13,000 from Bing,
Yeah, there's
4,000 from Yahoo, 2,000
there.
from DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. And those are the people, the
DuckDuck.
tinfoil hats with the DuckDuckGo. So,
Yeah.
like, look at the conversions there. Like, well, those are the crazy ones. So you don't want those people.
So next up from Google itself, new
man.
sustainability tools help businesses and cities map environmental information. This is
They're taking over.
again interesting one to me because Zillow's kind of led the charge of adding all this additional information around property. Like safety scores, and I think they do have, it was started by Brad Edmond, I forget the name of the company, where they give like a climate score rating. But now this is being built into Google Maps platform. They're going to let you see solar energy potential. So it'll identify roofs and talk about the amount of information that likelihood that it will produce a certain amount of power, air quality information, and common allergens. And so everyone who has a Google Map built into their site, you would in essence, if you thought this was important enough, be able to offer a toggle on your own site or experience with access to this same information.
I think it's pretty cool. The solar one is a little bit interesting because our electricity rates here are expensive. We have a moderately larger home, 3,300 feet. And I'm home all day, so there's no saving of power during the day by turning the AC down. And we run the AC 365 days out of the year for the most part. So we've considered solar. So Project Sunroof in our home is newer. Like for some reason, like our house is not in there yet, which is really bizarre. So I'd imagine even like a brand new home is obviously not going to be in there. But being that we have no trees because they tore everything down to make it easier and more efficient to develop, we have some trees growing. But I'm like, man, solar is like ripe for most new home builds, especially in the South. Like I think we did do a private survey with our property at one point, and like the amount of power we can produce is insane. So I think that's like, that could be a really cool selling tool to go new home construction. It's more efficient. Oh, and then now you have solar. The ROI on that, the payback is extremely quick because like the efficiency of it for a new home compared to an existing home, an older established neighborhood would be there. So it'd be nice if I would imagine as it gets used more often, how it refreshes the map and how that would be a little bit quicker. Yeah, just fast forward like 2, 3, 5 years from now. They're pretty cool, all the tools we have.
I don't have the exact number, but whoever originally shared this article in my social network also included a stat that I remember. It was either close to 50% or like 60% of people who were surveyed had considered at least one environmental factor as part of their search for a home. I imagine both of you living near water in Virginia Beach and near Tampa, but even in Ohio, like you can't build homes in a certain level of a floodplain. Let's say 100-year flood, I think, is you just can't build in here. So it's kind of surprising in one sense that number sounded like a good number to use as a stat, because I would think like 100% of people are considering like position of the sun, amount of shade.
Yeah.
It seems like people who, still quote like, did you know that 94.9% of people use the internet to shop for a house? And like, stop talking about this. It's everyone who's,
like everyone.
Why are we doing this? But like, of course the environment's a big, like, that's what location is. It's all those things wrapped up together. But I mean, do you remember doing like a specific thing that you were
For me, definitely with hurricane evacuate. Like we just had a hurricane a week ago that passed by us. So we still had we're zones. I think it's probably the same where you are, Jen. It's like A, B, C, D, and then X, non-evacuatable. So like A is like you're on the beach, or you're a mobile home, a trailer home, manufactured home.
Yep.
Essentially wind and water. And then B, and then we're C, but we're actually like B and a half. Like our kitchen is a B, the rest of the house is a C for whatever reason. So we stick with C. We're like, okay, if that gets wet over there, it's fine.
Yeah,
but we're
I'm
still only
AE.
like we're 13. You're AE. Yeah, you're gone. You're sinking.
I'm underwater.
You're underwater. So we're like 13
below
feet
sea
above sea
level.
level. You're
I'm
below.
below
See,
sea
you're like a
level.
bowl.
Seriously.
You're New
Norfolk
Orleans.
is
You have tunnels.
sinking.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're
That sounds
Still
good.
bought a house in the AE flood zone, and I knew that. So I'm not a good candidate.
Jen's gone.
well, but you still.
Florida's
I mean, if it
sinking.
was bad
I
enough,
still
it
paid
would have
attention.
impacted.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you
I
need
think
flood
this
insurance,
is-
if you don't, like that's a
Yeah.
huge factor.
flood insurance required.
It's just a good thing that, to me, it goes in the category of if this plays to your advantage, you should be talking about it. If you're a builder
Oh,
in
for sure.
Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Yeah.
or Southern California, or the center of California, and you have now the availability to show the potential of solar usage on a home, like you should be talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, next up from CNBC.com, we're going to start with the scary and then get to someone trying to offer a solution. Mortgage demand drops to a 27-year low as interest rates pull back. The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed mortgages was $726,000 or less, decreased to 7.2% from 7.3%. Applications for a mortgage to purchase a home fell 2% and were 28% lower than the same week 1 year ago. So affordability matters, huh? Who would have thought?
Who'd have thunk it? Well, good thing there's some really smart builders that are offering some buy down mortgages, and they could show 5.45 or any number less than 7 is really attractive.
Yeah,
that's for
rates
sure.
are. I mean, again, I think it's catching people off guard, and I don't want to go into full economics lesson. But what's happening right now is that the government has to sell so many more treasuries to fund the government that investors are demanding a higher rate of return. And so again, people just keep getting confused. It's worth, at this point, it's kind of like, again, it's September of 2023. Interest rates have been kind of a big deal for a while now. So when I say interest rate, treasury bonds, treasury bills, 10-year, and you're like, whatever, just shut up and move on to the next topic, you should go watch a couple of YouTube videos. I'll give some links in the show notes but like you have, at some point you have to be like, I guess this is a big deal. You don't have to understand it to solve it. You can't empathize with your customers.
I was going to say,
you can't communicate, you can't educate, you cannot build trust if you're not making any content about this at all because you're scared of it. Like, just, so people are like, I don't understand. We didn't raise interest rates, or interest rates only went up by X when the Fed did. Well, the Fed's not the only factor here, and so rates are still sliding higher, and the government's going to need more money for a while. So,
I mean, I think you would say, Kevin and Jen, interest rates is I'm trying to think of the right word to phrase it. Principle. That's a strong word. I think we all can feel that word, what it means. Like interest rates, that is the single biggest factor right now above everything else. Like you could have a purple house with backwards doors and windows upside down, sideways, all this stuff. And the interest rate is right on that single home somehow. Who cares? That thing is selling, right?
Yeah.
Like it overrides the most amazing campaign, the most amazing website, the most amazing content.
Yeah.
Location, all that stuff is the rate right now. We had a home just list in our neighborhood, and it's one that's like closest to our size home. And I'm like, oh, what's that thing listed for? And it's like 7 something. And then I see the Zestimate, the Zillows, I forget what they call their mortgage calculator. I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like, that's a whole different type of person income, job, life wise compared to
Affordability.
say myself.
I mean,
When we got in at this house, now we're at 2.9. I'm like, that's a whole different ball game as
All
far
you
as
have
like
to do,
that
Andrew,
person.
is ask your parents for money. I don't know if you saw that Barbara Corcoran video. So
I should
Barbara
do that.
Corcoran she's had a couple of these viral comments. I don't know if she just doesn't have anything going on with her real life. She's
New
just
PR
making
firm.
statements that are compelling. But the first one was, of course, like if rates go down, prices will go up, so you better buy now. And it's like, okay, that we just want to look at one way that could happen. It also could be that rates go down because the economy is terrible and people then have to sell their house, and then there's more supply, then demand, and then prices go down. So either one could happen. But now she's come out and she's just it was one of these like dude bro podcasts about like how to get rich quick. She's like, you just got to get into real estate. And like, if you can't afford it, no big deal. Just ask your parents for the money. Like the boomers have money, just get their money. And so then she's just getting trolled
Get the boomer
so hard by people who are screenshotting that. And they're like, in their clearly not rich surroundings. And these are like teenagers even. They're like, yeah, thanks, Barbara. I'll definitely just ask my parents for, a couple million to buy that apartment in Manhattan.
Hey, Mom.
Like,
I can imagine the reactions on that would be hilarious.
Well, just despite this, right? So it's not like, you can easily slip into this like doom, like, oh my gosh, this sucks, right? But when we look at, I just talked to a builder. It's like we had our best month. August was our best month, and
ever, not their best August. Like, it was their best month
ever. And conversion rates are still really strong, even more so than they were first quarter. Like, so it's like, yes, it's there and it's harder, but there's still a lot of positives happening.
There's still way more there are actually way more positives than there are negatives. I'm telling you, I would rather have rates where they are or higher than I would like to have the same number of existing homes available on the market today as there were in 2018. If that happens, I'm telling you, it's not that is bad. I will trade a whole bunch of other things before I will take an extra couple million homes.
You're saying because the existing inventory is so low. That's why it's so good for us. Yeah.
The only common factor, not the only, the main common factor that unites individual markets that are struggling right now, where builders are not hitting or exceeding their goals, is where existing home supply, get this, has returned to like normal levels. It's not like homes are sitting around forever, but they're like, this is the same month supply that was like considered healthy is violently unhealthy now because why? Because if you get the same healthy supply as is normal and demand is still down here, that's not good. And so anything that reduces supply, and this is why people get into housing conspiracies of like builders don't want to build. Like people truly think, this is hilarious, they think home builders are like Louis Vuitton in their thinking of like, you know what we'll do? Here's what we'll do, Jen. We'll build homes a little bit slower, or we'll make them a little less available just to protect the prices of our homes.
Right.
They've never met D.R. Horton. They've never met LGI.
No.
Century Community, like some of these builders that just focus on volume, like it's hilarious. But your point is, again, Andrew, 100% correct. We would not be in this house now. When rates went down to 3.5 and then kept going lower, I was like, Melanie, we owned this property since 2015 that we built on. And we had a loan still that we were paying off on the land, but the loan on land was like 7.5% raw land. And I said, you realize that if we build a house that's basically the same size as the house we're in now on the 7 acres versus a 3/4 acre, we will have a lower payment than what we are paying right now, paying the land and
like
this
free
house.
money, basically.
Yeah, she was like, shut the front door, Kevin. Are you serious? Is this real interest
That's
rates?
basically what she said. Like, well, then why are we not doing this?
I don't know that we'll ever see that low.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever want to see that low.
But that's
conspiracy.
And that's what I wish more people would just honestly talk about. If it went back to that, guess what would happen? Like there is, my friend Rob Hahn says that, there's just the D's or the 5 D's or 4Ds, and we added a fifth, I think. But deaths, diamonds, diapers, divorce, and displacement, like physical. Those are the reasons people move.
Yeah.
Those reasons haven't stopped.
Right.
Yeah.
What has stopped is the availability to easily move around.
Right.
And transact.
Right.
And so that means that I think it's very likely that when rates do go down, there's going to be a whole bunch of people, just like the race was on when people realized that they were still going to make money during the fact that half of the world was shut down. The race was on to buy things and do things and get things.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a whole bunch of people who, the minute rates get below 5, are like, oh, this is our chance. We got to sell this house. We made the dumbest decision ever to move to nowhere, Vermont, and work remotely and try to raise yak wool on the side. We need to get back home to Chicago, and they're going to put their house up 100%. For sale. And that is, I'm just telling you, whatever keeps inventory low is what I'm in favor of for our industry. Now, as a human being and wanting people to be able to have access to housing, I think it's terrible, absolutely terrible. Yeah. But it is what makes the market work right now.
I think there's a lot of people that regret not doing something with the massive amount of equity they have. So they're like, this might be like, who knows what's going to happen? Like, this is our chance. We have $500,000 or whatever number, 200, 300, 400,000 in equity. I want to do something with it. I want to move. So there's a lot of reasons, I guess.
Yeah. Now you can't really touch that equity because you're going to get it.
There's still a lot of people coming to websites and looking, and lots of traffic.
That's true. That's true.
You know, people are looking.
People love new homes.
It's just, they're waiting.
But to the rescue, maybe.
To the rescue, maybe.
Like a rocket. Is OnePlus by Rocket Mortgage, a 1% down payment option. Andrew, you found this.
I did find this. I was actually, so we refied with Rocket. I logged in. We refied like 2020, 2021, whenever it was. And then I saw this as like an ad. So I'm like, ooh, they got me. They got me enough to share this with the team. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And I just read the fine details. So it essentially is targeting it's first time buyers, or if you're a repeat buyer, but you do have to fit certain income requirements. They give you could put down 1%. That's all they're asking for, 1% down payment. They'll give a 2% grant as part of that down payment. So you're at 3%. And you could only give up to 3%. So there's max down payment is 5%. So they're making sure that, like, okay, they'll make more money with less down payment. They have more principal to have interest attached to. But then there's no PMI on it as well. So that's really interesting. But the credit requirements, you're looking at this, I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not a finance person, but you're like, okay, 620 or better. That's pretty low, I feel like, for like what seems in my brain like this seems to be like a higher risk product. Or, you know, Beth on her team is like, this feels really familiar to a VA loan in terms of requirements. Like it's just kind of what the VA offers for military. But there are, you know, every word means something. I'm not educated enough in this as far as like what does qualified income mean versus income on it. But it seems like it is targeting kind of like the middle-ish class income levels, and that kind of like in between number. We're probably a lot of people that are very great renters. They pay on time. They have no issue with that. Yet they're stuck. They're kind of like, I can't get a down payment. Houses keep going up. Interest rates are higher. I want to get out of renting. This seems to be the perfect thing for them. So
yeah, my niece, this seems like a great product for it. And it's not just I'm almost positive this is a government or Fannie and Freddie have kind of, somehow this has been devised, and Rocket does always a really good job of packaging things up
they do
easily and simply for people. But I'm pretty sure this option exists for from a lot of different sources. But my niece I think she's 24. She's made good money for a couple of years. She's lived with her mom. She's getting married, and she's like, I really want to buy a house, but I can only afford to put down, or I only want to put down X. Even though she has more money, she just doesn't want to put it all into the house.
You want to have backup. Yeah, you're like, cool. Which makes sense. Yeah. You think that would be like rewarded somehow. Maybe it is, like less down payment.
Well, not by banks, because I know that's more risk for them.
It is risk. But another thing I think a takeaway on this too is if you read it, I think most builders, I'll be a meaning for a second, any incentives, they're usually not great at explaining them on their website. intentional, not intentional. To me, I think clear is kind. The more direct you are with it, the better conversions you'll have. So I don't know if there's any like, hey, just leave a little bit of info out. People want to call. Well, that's not good because then it causes you to get or confuse people. Like, hey, I'm trying to read this thing. Online salesperson like, well, they didn't tell me either, so I don't really know. I don't really know. So I think I
we
read
have
this.
an incentive. What?
What are you talking about? I think it's like 90% clear, and at the bottom there's some like we're like, well, that number doesn't make sense. You talk about 6,000 there, but that's not referenced anywhere else. Little details I think might not be the best.
Andrew,
But
we
it's
don't
just
like
written.
the word incentive. Okay,
We
we're
don't
like
like incentive. What do we
home
like?
buying options,
Home buying options.
like new home buying options.
Okay, home buying. I don't know. I can't tell if you're messing with me or not because options feels like a really
serious.
weird word. Really? Oh, we should talk about that. Options versus incentives. And do a. Did y'all watch the story on Netflix? I'm really distracting this right now, but it's about words, choosing words. It's about when Oxycontin content was created, and they did a focus group on naming the drug.
Oh, geez.
They're like, what does morphine mean to you? They're like, cancer, death, my grandmother passing. What does this word mean to you? Oh, headache. What does this word mean to you? Oxycontin. Breathing, like oxygen, and it was all positive words. And they're sitting there, and you're like, oh, well, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like if you watch it and you're personally affected by it, you're
Listen,
like sitting there
language
like, so
language
incentive,
makes a big
the word,
difference.
yeah,
Listen,
they all
we've
mean
gotten
something.
rid of the word appointment. If somebody is like thinking
Y'all are
like,
blowing my mind. I'm stuck in nerd corner. I don't even know what's happening anymore.
no, we're like, don't even say appointment because that means that's transactional. In the last market, it
Stressful.
meant like if you get an
Doctor
appointment, like you're gonna go to contract basically.
What word do we like?
So like we don't even say that. We
What word do you
say
use?
discovery tour, community visit. If there's somebody who's really like,
Okay.
I don't know, like, hey, how about let's just set you up with an informational session to get you started. Like,
I hope they're not like like an appointment. I feel like I'm Jerry Seinfeld right now.
Like softening that verbiage and like, anyway, I don't know how we got
sense. No, it's good. Language is.
My grandma
it all means something.
Well, she's still alive. She's 104. So there might be something to this, but her and my grandfather used to take vitamin O, Andrew.
That sounds made up too.
And it like had oxygen in it. And I was, I don't know, 5 at the time.
Oh, I see it. Okay,
but I was still like, I'm pretty sure you can't put oxygen into powder form and shove it inside of a capsule. Like
it's just hydrogen.
I think they're probably the way water. That the Jokers got away with it is they're like, well, you're breathing while you're taking it. So you're taking in oxygen.
Oh my gosh.
I need to know what's in this. I found it.
Just like,
I found the Amazon thing, which is terrible.
It's
like
around?
It's like a white and blue bottle. Vitamin O. Ingredients. I don't even.
Yeah. Well, my father-in-law also sells total shyster thing. He sells salt water. It's a cure-all. He's from West Virginia. Go figure.
Okay.
And then my mom used to take queen bee royal honey. It was special honey in gel tabs that only came from queen bees because queen bees have some. Just like, why do we all want to live forever?
But wait,
like
that's insane. I'm quality over quantity. I don't know. Here for a fun time,
as
not a long
marketers,
time.
we should all just be paying way more attention to cosmetics and vitamin companies.
Yeah,
maybe we should all just lie more. Just make up more stuff. Just kidding.
Let's make it
because we have plenty to talk about that's interesting to them that we don't have to make any.
And we have discovery tours. We could tell them about this informational thing. I like that.
I don't know. Do you like this, Kevin, or do you hate this, Kevin? This Kevin could never appear on another episode again. If just
how much
let us know. How much
coffee have you had today? Maybe is it too much or not enough?
No, I think it's just the knowing that this is my last thing of today, and I get to.
Did you? So every Thursday for the month of September, I think it's month of September. Starbucks is doing buy one get one fall drinks after 12 o'clock.
Oh,
Starbucks
fantastic!
they should be
family.
They should be sponsoring me right now. So I went and got one before. Look at this little thing. Doesn't it look so little? I'm not a big dude. I'm like 5'8", but doesn't this cup look so dainty? Like with my. That's a tall, but it's the pumpkin cream cold brew.
People always think this stuff is contrived and made up, but I will add a Starbucks card in All Access that you all can scan.
And they better post a picture using it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You better use it.
All right, let's move on to our favorites or things we hate. Either one.
Oh gosh.
What are your favorite shows, books, things you've watched? I'm going to give away one of my secret favorite thing. I share a lot, but then I'm always like, ooh, that person's got really good stuff. I can't share it with anyone, but I will share it today. You want to start, Andrew?
Yeah, you talked about West Virginia. So we were recommended. Oh, I'm not recommending this. I'm just
West Virginia. You're wonderful people. My wife's from West Virginia, obviously.
Country roads, Shenandoah River, right? It's a great place. So there's this documentary. I think Johnny Knoxville made it. Someone from right, but it's the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Just watch it on Amazon. It seems like it's a high school project someone made an iMovie.
Oh gosh.
And it's about this family, the Whites, in West Virginia, in Boone County, West Virginia. And it's just a train wreck of, I mean, you don't watch it and try to figure out who the father is of any of these children. I think it's one person, the great-grandfather or the grandfather. It's the craziest thing, but it's about this family they're all related, interbred. So it's insane. I'm like, what are we watching right now? But someone recommended it to us. So sure enough, we watched it. I'm not advising to watch it or to not watch it. But if you need something that's a change of pace.
You always do this with your hey, I've seen this thing.
You don't need to justify your favorite.
Yeah, you're very hesitant in your recommendations.
Definitely not this is about a ancestral family that's inbred.
Oh,
it's
what
a little
is
weird.
This? Are you favoring it?
I don't know. This is just wild.
Or hating it?
It's interesting.
Yeah, what is it?
We finished the whole thing, if that says anything. So we didn't turn it off. I've heard people left.
It was like the train
Barbie
wreck
movie,
you had to keep watching.
It was a train wreck. You're like, wow, this is real. That reminded me when he said West Virginia. So, and my boom mic, my boom arm that I got, the new one, it's perfect. It doesn't move. The other one's on the ground. I need to throw it away. So
nice.
$20. It works. I just needed it to lock in place versus have this tension, which would be perfect, but it just stays where I put it because it's a simpler design. So sometimes the more expensive option isn't the best one. So that's it. So
Jen, did we stall long enough for you?
My favorite thing right now is got to be that college football is back. Just coming off of my weekend at Tech, and my Monarchs are back. I love college football. So
I do too. I don't have as much time anymore to watch it, but I still remember with fondness. I forget the exact year. I think it was before we had kids. It must have been before we had kids. But I watched College Game Day every Saturday for the entire season and every Ohio State game.
You guys sometimes why don't you go to the Ohio State games?
What was that?
Why don't you go to the Ohio State games?
Well, there's like 110,000 people there.
Yeah.
And tickets are kind of expensive, and I have a lot of people. And honestly, it's not a good environment to take like a 9 and 10-year-old kid to. I did take him to one last year. It started sleeting and snowing, and they begged to leave in the middle of the third quarter. I usually take like 1 or 2 people to a game, but it's not, honestly, if I could go and watch the very beginning, like you're talking about, like watching the best band in the land come out or do Script Ohio and the crowd cheering, like that's the best.
Yeah, that's the best.
I guess
part.
That means I'm not actually a football person, but you know, like I can't stand watching high school football. We go to the high school football games. I can't stand it. It's the least interesting sport in the world to watch, I think. At times. College is better because you're higher up, you get a perspective, whatever. But
yeah.
Although I feel we watch, but I'm not sure how I feel about the what's the NIL. Some of the players making stupid money. Like I don't know. I'm just like I don't. Even though like they're making they're getting endorsement deals and it's legit now.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like they earn that, they have this stuff. It just makes me feel like so that guy's making some stupid money on the field, and these other 12, 11, whatever, like or not. I don't know.
No, the Ohio State quarterback last year bought like everyone on the team, it was either like a $500 or $1,000 gift card, and told them all to get nicer clothes to wear during the walk that they do from like, he's like, you all need to
Oh,
not be slobs. Like go get some nice clothes.
So that's nice, but I also feel like,
but
oh, look
also
at you.
kind
You
of
can
like,
afford it.
yeah,
Oh, la da da da
exactly.
da.
Oh,
Like,
Mister, go
I'd
get
be like,
new
I'm not wearing those
clothes.
clothes because I resent you a
Yeah.
little bit. Is that envy or jealousy? I don't know. That's
I don't know what it is, but if you want to send me a gift card, anyone listening, you're welcome to. I'm not too good for it. I'll take
I
a
mean,
gift card.
you need like 1,000 for like an Ohio State game, food, all that, tickets.
Kevin, you're
Right.
gonna get a
Okay,
new.
I'm
You're
done.
gonna need to get a new suit for the summit.
There's not time for that, is there?
I
But I
I'm
thought
think
suits weren't
kidding.
allowed.
I'm
is that,
kidding,
oh
but I'm
no,
just
that
saying, like,
now you've just, I'm going to spiral. I'm going to do
oh
a
Oh
no.
full
no.
on spiral now, because like I only see you all in person if we're lucky twice a year. I don't
Yeah.
mean do you convert? I mean anyone who
Yeah.
I ever see in person
People.
more than twice a year.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I mean, I'm sure you do remember what I wore last time, but also
There's pictures.
I don't grow anymore. I'm not, I mean,
And they're expensive. I mean, like,
Melanie's on me
it's-
for like my jeans, but she doesn't really care about suits or sport coats. I do get a lot of compliments on my hooded sport coat thing. Have you seen that yet, Jen?
No, what is that?
That's my favorite. Hold
sport-
on. Sorry, Olivia, you're gonna have to edit this. But
Hooded
Can-
sport
sport
coats.
coats. So sport coats are expensive. Have you bought a male? I don't know if a female
I just
jacket is just as much.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
pricey.
probably not as expensive as yours, but I just bought, or Sam had to get a new suit,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Damn."
You're like,
okay,
what?
yeah. So, I don't know the brand. Sorry. Let's see if we can find it.
Okay.
Is it
This
on
is
here?
this is a jacket.
Oh no,
this can't
it's
count.
this is
Oh,
a Alberto Zimni.
Oh, it is a
jacket.
sport coat.
Okay.
It's a
let's Google
sport
that.
coat with a hood and whatever these are called. Yeah, the hood can be
Okay.
unzipped.
That's great.
It has like two
Oh,
layers
so you can
of
take the hood off.
you can zip it and button it, or you can just button it or just zip it. It looks like it's got like 3 layers kind of built into it.
That's your favorite thing.
It's really good. I know I ask
then.
people, especially strangers, because they don't know me. I'm like, are you just being nice or do you really like this? But
Like, are you
because I
picking
still
fun of me?
feel a little awkward. Like, no, that's awesome. I got to get one of those for my husband or whoever. I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, check that out. No, my
That's
real
cool.
favorite link is in the show notes is Kyla Scranton on YouTube. This is a younger lady who talks a lot about economics and human behavior. She got famous via TikTok. I haven't watched her TikToks. So she does some weird things, but this is a talk called How Individualism Changed the Economy. And what I like about it is it talks about how this idea was started in the United States around the time period of in between World War I and World War II. We got to get people to buy more stuff. How do we get people to want to buy more stuff? And just some of the crazy things that ended up happening as a result of it, like 2-3 different people really formed this idea of using psychological weak spots in our brain to get us to want things. And the kind of the icing on the cake for me is it leads into how Guatemala, where we spend a lot of time as a family doing humanitarian work, like we caused the Civil War because, kind of what we were talking about with words. The United States Fruit Company, I think, or some fruit company that owned all the land in Guatemala, they were going to lose it. And so they positioned through the use of words and said, well, the communists, which in the 60s, it was all like, oh my gosh, the communists are everywhere. We're scared of Russia and communists. So they just called these people who wanted to give workers in the fields a little plot of land if they worked long enough. They're like, you should be able to get a place to build a house. And they called them communists. So then we started a war that split up a country. And it's just, they had like 30 years of civil war and a bunch of people got butchered because the guy decided, hey, you know what? We could shift everyone's opinion of this if we just use a different word. So
full circle. Words are important.
Words are.
Yeah. A word.
Change up your language.
Yeah.
Watch your mouth, young man.
But it's one of those things that I'm watching and my family walks around the corner and they're like, what are you They just like slowly
Watching.
walk out, hoping I don't notice they're there. Like, we don't want to sit down and watch this, Dad. But I
Oh,
enjoy it.
Oh man.
All right. That'll do it for this week.
I'll do it.
We'll see you next time. Actually, no. At the summit?
Will
No.
we?
One more.
One more.
Okay.
One more, and then we'll see you at the summit. Oh, final all-in plug. If you are all access, if you're in all access and you go to the event, so we have basically just under 400 people coming to this year's summit. And I think there's, I don't know, 40, 50 people who have RSVP'd in all access. If you RSVP that you're going in there, I'm going to run a separate contest with a separate prize. So you just got to go push a button and say, I'm coming. You'll be able to see everyone else who's coming. You can talk to them there. We've got the Summit app coming out shortly, but go in there and check that out. And you might get invited for a happy hour in Dallas somewhere,
I like it.
just for
Nice.
special people.
Okay, I was gonna say not the one after the first.
You don't
day
know about
that
this one.
everyone's going to.
You got to go in all access
This
and
is
say
special
you're
one.
coming, Andrew, and then you
all
might
right.
get invited.
I hope
All right, everyone. We'll see you next
hope I
week.
get to go. See y'all.